Well, now on this video, I'm gonna share with you 8 effective and simple steps to actually get or use them to get yourself out of the broke life. A lot of people I know are complaining right now due to the cost of living, and they're saying, hey, you know what, Joseph, I actually consider myself broke because I rarely even save a dime. How exactly can I get myself out of this situation so that at least I may achieve that what people talk about financial freedom to a point whereby, hey, I can actually live in a decent life, okay? If that's what you've been looking forward, and if that's what you clicked for, you are never wrong, because that is exactly what I'm gonna share with you. But I want a favor from you in return. I'm sharing this information for free, all right? So the only thing I want you to do is to like this video. It doesn't cost you anything, and also subscribe. And how do you do that? Down below there is a small button written subscribe. It is in black. Hit that magical button. Comment down below, tell me what you think. Let's get into the problem. Okay, now, how do you get ourselves into this problem? Okay, the very first step, and by the way, I've actually made this easier for you because I've actually outlined all the steps that you ought to follow. They say if you think it, you ink it. Step number 1, assess your situation. What does it mean? Exactly understand the situation you are. Yeah, I know you're saying you're broke. Fine. To what extreme? What is your extension? Okay, are you in a broke to a point whereby you can't eat, you can't rest, you can't pay your rent? Or are you in a position, or you're in a situation whereby you're employed, yes, you get some money, but all the money that you're getting is actually going towards the expenses, to a point whereby if you dare not go to a job or go to a work or to that work that you do, you're gonna sleep hungry. You know, there are different types of being broke. There are people who do not have a job, do not have a place, they have zero. And there are people who are actually employed, but the point is they are eating, they're dressing, their kids are going to school, but they cannot save nothing. So understand and assess your situation. How deep are you into this? So once you identify the situation that you are in, then appropriate steps will follow. Or we say the subsequent steps will actually follow after that. Okay? Let's get to the next point. The next point is, what do we do? Get financial counseling if the situation is worse. Now, how deep is your situation? You know, you can get yourself in a situation whereby you are actually broke, to a situation whereby you have your family here, you have your kids, you have your wife, or you have your husband. They rarely can they eat. Let me tell you one thing. There is nothing that stresses an adult who has a family and they're in a situation whereby they cannot be able to cater for their families. I am telling you, that guy not only have the financial problem, but also the psychological and social problems. So if you get yourself in a situation whereby you are in this kind of a thing, seek immediate effect. Wherever you're gonna get it, closer to you. Whether it's a church, whether it's a mosque, or where there is a financial advisor, get them ASAP as soon as possible. And I don't know why I'm actually communicating this to men, because men, we tend to hold still, all gonna be okay, all gonna be okay. It's okay. It's good to actually show the strength, but at the same time, it's also good to make sure that at least share the information. So, because, hey, guess what, guys? This is your financial things can actually get yourself into a point whereby you do bad things, okay? So if the situation is quite worse, get yourself a financial counseling. And if maybe you cannot afford to pay the financial counseling, then seek to an individual whom you can have a conversation to or with, so that at least you can relieve yourself. I know that one, you feel like, okay, what's the next step? The next step is that if you can get yourself in a point whereby you ought to liquidate some of the things in your house. And by the way, I had a client, let me just share this information with you very quick. I had a client who called me and told me, hey, I'm in a bad debt situation, all right? I'm in a situation where they are about to come to my house and auction my things. And I'm wondering, what exactly should I do? I told the guy, hey, do this. Before they actually show up to your place and they're gonna take all your things, the couches, the whatever, and they're gonna sell them in a throwaway price. You brother, sell them by yourself, because you're gonna fetch the best price at the market. Okay, so go back to your house and check some of the things that are not necessary. You might find some people telling me, hey, I'm broke, Joseph, I can't even pay my rent. The guy has a deep freezer, the guy has a fridge, the guy has a very big nightstand, has an 85-inch TV. You have yourself a very big recliner and all those. Come on. Okay, shed your ego first. Forget about the starters. Liquidate those things that you know are not necessary. And once you get that money is not meant to take you or go to take alcohol so that you forget the reality of life. No, that money is ought to go directly to that things are pressing. If it's about food, go buy that. If it's about the house rent that you haven't paid, say for 2 months, go cater for that fast, so that at least you can have what we call the breathing allowance, so that at least you can get yourself back in the food. Let me tell you one secret. This is life, and that's how things happen. So it's always good to make sure that if you have something that you can liquidate, and I said if it is a must, if you must. This one may not be applicable to everyone, but if it's a what? If it's a must. If it's not applicable, just keep it. Go to the next point. What's the next point? Cut unnecessary expenses. And let me tell you one secret. There are two things that actually takes people into debts or into broke life. One is when you literally don't make any money. Two is when you have expenses that exceeds your income. So understand, where is the source of your brokenness? Is it from the point that you do not have a job that is making you money? Or is it from a point whereby yes, you have a job, but you're living in a life that is way above? It's like you're punching above your weight. So it's good to understand where is the source of your broke life. So once you understand the source of your broke life, then you can treat it appropriately. Then if the broke life is originating from a situation whereby you do not have a job, you do not have money and all those kind of things, then you should focus towards getting a job. You should focus towards creating networking and that kind of a thing, so that at least you can generate some income out of the situation. Or if your broke life is actually coming from a situation whereby you're employed, you get some salary, but actually you're living a life that is way above. It's like you're earning 40,000, but you're living a 45,000 kind of a lifestyle. So you always borrow the 5,000. And if you borrow, remember one thing, borrower is always a slave of what? Of a lender. You're gonna get yourself in a situation whereby you get in a situation whereby it's kind of a cycle. You'll be robbing Peter to pay John, borrowing Peter to pay John, and all those kind of things. So you're gonna get yourself in sort of a rat race. Okay. So if you don't wanna get yourself into that rat race, sort of a kind of a thing, it's always good to understand where is the source of your broke life. If the problem is your expenses, then you ought to change some of the characters, because even if I promise you go look for areas where you can be able to make more, it's amazing. Actually, that's what I would advise. Go make more. Look for areas where you can be able to supplement that kind of a lifestyle. Amazing. But the problem is you're likely to also up your game in terms of the expenses if you get more money. Do you remember there was a time you were being paid 10,000? Do you remember that time? Do you remember there was a time that maybe you are being paid 15,000? I'm talking to a guy who is earning 100K right now. Do you remember there was that time and you're still living? And what happened? Like right now you're complaining and you're having a salary of 200 G's or 200K, yet you're still complaining. You know what happened? It's like whenever you get an increment in terms of your salary, you also increase your expenditure. You also increase your lifestyle. You're living in a 3,000 house, you go to a 10,000, to a 15, to a whatever. Everything goes up so you never realize any difference in terms of your salary increment. So the point is, sometimes getting more money does not solve the problem. Sometimes, or we say, yes, it does amazingly, and I will love it. I would advise you go ahead and do that. But the point is this: if you cannot change your character, if you cannot change your mindset, you're gonna carry forward the same weakness to the next level. And I always love to give these examples, like changing the forest, but the monkey is still the same. You're gonna do the tree jumping and all those kind of things. Again, two ways: make more money or look for other ways of supplementing your income. But as you do that, also work on your mind shift, work on how your mentality and the perception towards cash. Otherwise, if you don't, that's gonna get yourself into problems. Now let's get into the point. Now, the next one is actually set what we call the realistic goals. You know, some people, by the way, I've ever met some people who are discouraged by life, and whenever you ask them why are they discouraged, they give you a very unrealistic goal, and you realize the problem is not the problem is not really what you think. The problem is actually a created one. And I always tell people there are two types of problems. A, we have the real problems. Two, we have created problems. All right. So most of the people get disturbed by what we call the created problems. So have realistic goals. You know very well you want 30,000 at the end of the month. You know very well you want 60, 70, whatever the amount of money. So have yourself, I'm not saying that you're not supposed to dream big if you want 15,000. No, that's not what I'm not saying. What I'm saying is this: you have a big dream, have a plan to achieve it, subdivide that dream into smaller compartments, and once you achieve a simple compartment, then celebrate yourself as you move along. That's for a fact. So it's always good to make sure that at least you have realistic goals. And also make sure that whenever you have the visions, you have the goals, it's always good that focus on focus on what? Focus on those individualistic, those sort of sort of small habits and small action that compounding results to you achieving that specific goal. Allow me to give this analogy. For example, if you get your journey from Nairobi all the way to Mombasa at night, the car cannot illuminate the entire stretch from Nairobi to Mombasa. Like when you switch on your headlights, it does not actually illuminate the entire stretch from Nairobi to Mombasa. No, actually illuminates like 100 meters or 50 meters or something of sort. But you rely on that short distance until you reach Mombasa. So what exactly does it mean? You may have the whole goal of going to Mombasa, but you're not actually illuminating the entire stretch of Nairobi to Mombasa. The only thing that you're relying on is that 50 meters. You're going to rely on the 50 meters until you cover the over 480 kilometers towards Mombasa. That's for a fact. The same case applies to life. You might be earning 15,000, but your goal is to get 1,000,000 bob. Fine. If you actually forget about the 50 meters that you're actually making and where you can be able to see, and you're focusing on, can you imagine? You're not even looking at where the headlights are actually illuminating, but you're just thinking about, oh my goodness, 400 and it's a night. You're going to collapse. So it's always good to make sure that at least, as much as you know the ultimate goal, it's always good to make sure that you appreciate the 50 meters that you're making, so that at least you can feel, moving forward and also achieving goals and all those kind of things. So if you're making 15,000, or if you can manage to save 15,000 at the end of the month, your ultimate goal is 1,000,000 bob. So why don't you give yourself this goal and say, hey, guess what? The moment I'll be reaching at least the 30,000 or 40,000, a celebration will always be there. And that way can actually give yourself the motivation to go ahead and achieve the ultimate goal. The other thing, the sixth point, is that explore additional income, strength and all those kind of things, okay? Streams. So make sure that you explore additional income streams. For example, if let's say you have one stream of income, it's actually kind of dangerous. So it's always good to supplement that with other streams of income. This one, you can focus on your skills that you have. You can focus on some of the things that you can be able to do. So maybe at the free time, if you're employed, or if you're self-employed, what other things that you can complement on that what you're doing, so that at least you can be able to make more. So it's always good to make sure that at least you do exactly that. The number 6 is make sure that you have what we call the network and seek support. What exactly does it mean? When I say have the network and seek support, is make sure that at least you have people who can support you in one way or the other. I remember back then, if I may give a simple self example, I remember back then when I was when I graduated, I had no jobs, I was not employed, I was kind of confused and such kind of a thing. I was broke. When I got out of the job market, then I was kind of frustrated. So what exactly did I do? I was to communicate with guys who were in the market who never managed to enter university, and they connected me with simple jobs like paintings and what have you. And I paid for my bills. Well, didn't make me wealthy, but at least was one stepping step towards me making what, or towards the journey of achieving what we call the financial freedom. That simple steps and having the faith and taking the first staircase and moving along, that's what we need. The last one, this one I've actually talked about. Celebrate what we call the progress and achievement. That is exactly what you do, and those are the steps to get yourself out of the book right. If you do realize, or if you actually get a point in this video, make sure that you subscribe, like the video, and also comment down below. Pick my number from the description of this specific video, and let's get moving to the next point. For now, it's a goodbye, and see you in the next one.